Hello and welcome to this tutorial on getting the, using the navigation system, the NavMesh system inside of Unity with Playmaker. This was requested by one of my students. It's very useful to use the navigation system inside of Unity. Saves you a lot of time. Unless I'm mistaken, the navigation features are disabled for the personal editions. At least that's the way it was in 4. I don't know if that's the way it still is in Unity 5. I have the professional edition, so I've never really tried it. But here it is anyway. Alright, so inside of my scene, it's a very simple scene. I only have a player object, and all it is a very simple object. It's only a box. There's nothing added over here that you can see. There's no extra components added. I have a chaser object, which this ball is going to chase the player. Over here as well, you can see there's no extra components added. I have a wall, and essentially all of the geometry for the scene is parented to this one object, and that's it. And you can see the walls themselves, there's nothing special about them other than they have a rigid body. The constraints are all frozen. Use gravity is turned off for all of these objects. Alright, so what I'm going to do first of all is I am going to enable this player to be moved, and what I'm going to use to do that is going to be a character controller. I'm going to do this with Playmaker. I'm going to add an FSM. I'm going to do a get axis. 2 of them actually. I'm going to set up, one too many. Set up a float for horizontal axis, a float for the vertical axis, and a vector 3 to actually be able to move the character controller. I'll just call this V3. Inside of my state now, I'm going to get my horizontal. If I can remember how to type. I'm going to store that in H. I'll set my multiplier to 5 just to start out. I'll get my vertical. Set the multiplier to 5. I'll store that inside of V. And then I'm going to, is it set vector? No. Vector 3. Set vector 3, XYZ. That's what I want. My X I'm going to set horizontal, my Z I'm going to set vertical. I'm going to do this every frame. And then I'll do my character controller move, or simple move, whichever one you prefer. I'm going to make the space self. I'll move it every second. And let's see if that works. Alright, so I'm moving this guy around, and the wall does stop him. He's a little bit above the world, so I'll go ahead and set him down. That might be too far. Alright, so the wall stops him. Everything's groovy. Alright, so with that done, I'm also going to set my show state label off so it doesn't say state 1. when I'm moving this guy around. Okay. So that's done. Now, what about getting the ball to chase him? Now, the first thing you need to do, if you're one of my students, you need to go to Edline, and under the Unity C# folder, you'll see this new file called Pathfinding Actions. And all this is an update to Playmaker that enables you to use the actions that I'm about to show you. If you're not one of my students and you just stumbled upon this video, you need to go to the Playmaker forums, and you will be able to find these under Share New Actions. You'll be able to go inside of here, search for probably Pathfinding. Well, let's just log in. Alright, so let's go back over here, Share New Actions, Playmaker, no, let's see, Pathfinding. Let's see, Share New Actions, Pathfinding Actions by Jean Fabre, I guess that's how you pronounce it. You can go to here and actually download these actions as well. Probably need to grab this one, Playmaker Pathfinding Unity package. Alright, I thought it looks like I have an older version than the one that's actually available. Well, it doesn't matter. Alright, so that's where you can get these actions. Okay, and again, all they are new actions added to the Playmaker GUI that enable, or the actions actually, that enable you to actually use what I'm about to show you. Now, the way it generally works, if you're new to Unity, is we have this system, the navigation system, and the way it works is you can set. For example, I take all these walls, and you, inside of your inspector, you have this button up here called static, but you also have a drop down. Now, there's different ways to make it static according to certain things. Now, we're not going to worry about occlusion, we're not worried about light mapping. We are going to set this to be navigation static, which means it's always going to be here, it's never going to move, and we want to be able to have some objects actually navigate around the scene. Now, this is asking me, do I want to change the static flags for everything inside of this hierarchy, the wall, these cubes, the floor? And I want to say yes, I want all of them to be static, okay? Everything is going to be static. Alright, so the cube, the wall, everything is static. Now, once that's done, inside of Unity, I've set this with that flag so that I can actually do this. I can go to my navigation section, and if you don't have that, go to Window, Navigation, and inside of here you set what you actually want your navigation area to be. So right now it's going to be set for my navigation is going, or my area I'm going to create is going to be walkable. Everything will be able to walk on side of this area. Now, if I hit bake, what you see is you end up with this blue kind of highlight on all of this area. And what this means is that, and you see that we have this green section around the wall. What this means is that anything will be able to navigate on this blue area and actually be able to do the calculations to avoid the green area. Okay? Now, for comparison's sake, I'm going to duplicate this wall, move it over here, and again, it's static. All of these are static. And I'll go ahead and increase the size a little bit on this guy, like so. Okay, now I'll go back over to my navigation again, and I'll bake it again, and you'll see that it has made the adjustments and made these sections, these other sections, to be on the NavMesh. Let me rotate this so, again, for comparison's sake. Why are you doing that? On some kind of squash and stretch thing. I've never actually even seen that before. I didn't even think Unity had that. Is it this? Very strange. Never seen that before. Well, first thing for everything, or first time for everything, and I'm not really concerned with it anyway. Alright, let's go ahead and make a new one then. I'm not going to fight with this thing all day, I'll look it up later. Alright, so I'm going to make a new wall and just set it down. Like so. And I'll make this one static as well. And I'll also put it inside of this hierarchy over here. It doesn't really matter that I did that. I just like to be organized. Alright, make one more copy, move it over here, like so. Now, with all that done, so I have a small little maze kind of going on here. I can go over to my navigation and click bake. And you'll see that it has now made a new navigation mesh. It has calculated or compensated for all of these things that are static, and only if they're static will it actually skip these whenever it's moving around. Alright, so with that done, we don't need the navigation anymore. That is already set. What we need to do is to tell this chaser, or this enemy, to move on the NavMesh. That's how it's going to determine where to go. And to do that, we need to go to Add Component, Navigation, NavMesh Agent. And all this does is it's going to control the movement, or has the possibility of controlling the movement and the speed of this object. Okay? And you'll see Pathfinding. Okay, this is going to find a path from where it wants to go and avoid the static sections. Okay, so it's going to go only on the NavMesh. Okay, so now we have the agent. So how do we control the agent? Well, usually I would use code to do this. Very simple code, actually. Well, it's simple to do it as far as the basics, but it's rather robust. You can use it for a lot of different things. But I'm going to use Playmaker because that's what we're using in class. So on this object, on our chaser object, I'm going to create a new FSM, and inside of our action browser we'll do a search for nav. And here under NavMesh there's lots of things here, and unless you get this pathfinding actions asset, these aren't going to show up for you. So you have to get that or this stuff's not going to work. Alright, so we have NavMesh, calculate path, etc. and so on, but if you look, and we will look, let me take my action browser and actually lock it down over here so I can see what I'm doing. Actually, here might be better. If we go down and look under NavMesh, we have these actions we can use, but we also have NavMesh Agent, and here is a ton of actions we can do. Now the ones we're going to use are NavMesh Move, and set, let's see, if I can find it. I think it should be target, set agent target. Maybe it's path. There we go, agent set path. Alright, so we're going to set the path and then we're going to move according to the path, okay? Now, unless I'm mistaken, and evidently I am. Alright, so let's set our path. And we're going to use our player object. And our agent move will let him or tell him, so first it sets the path, then it moves according to whatever the path is. Now with these two actions, that should be enough. And evidently it's not. Alright, so what am I doing wrong? Let's see. Agent move. Maybe it's set destination. Ah, there we go. So instead of path, let's get rid of that. This is the one we want. Set destination as game object. So with this one, just drag this over here and hit play. And now you can see that that object is now chasing me wherever I go. And it's going to avoid those static objects. So if I come around here on the other side, now it'll change direction and come at me again. Alright, so it's always going to chase me. Now, you can do things like make a raycast that goes right to the player, and if it sees the player and doesn't get stopped with the raycast, then to chase them. So if they're in the line of sight, then chase them. But that's a little bit out of the scope of exactly what I wanted to show with this. One final thing I will show is changing the speed. Now you can see the guy's never going to catch me. But if we go into the action browser and we set velocity, I think, set agent velocity. There we go. We have get agent velocity, so set, well, maximum speed, that'll work. Velocity is how fast he's actually going. Obviously, you've had physics class in 5th grade. Alright, so our set maximum speed, we'll move this to the top, and we'll set the maximum speed to maybe 10. Hit play, and whoa, he's a lot faster, and he's having trouble driving. You're right on me, and I'm not going to be able to get away. But you can see that using that, you can set exactly how fast you want the guy to go. So obviously maybe 10 is a little bit too fast, or I could up the speed of the player if I wanted to. Maybe I'll set the maximum speed of the player instead of changing the speed of the nav agent. So I'll select my player object, and I'll change my multiplier to maybe 8. Go a little bit faster. Alright, so I'm faster and he's faster, and he's still having trouble moving or stopping. And you can mess around with that too. You can make him stop on a dime if you want. but that's more outside of the realm of Playmaker and more inside of the realm of doing research as far as the way the navigation system in Unity works. Okay? Alright, so that's it for this tutorial on getting the Playmaker system to work with the navigation system inside of Unity. I hope that if you stumbled upon this video, you learned what you wanted to learn, or at least worked out some mysteries that you were wondering about. I don't know. It's very simple to set up, but again, I can't stress this enough. Those actions will not show up unless you download the Pathfinding actions to be found either on Edline if you're my student, or on the Playmaker forums if you are not my student. Alright? So, have a good night. See you next time.